As you may recall, in chapter 4, St. John of the Cross wrote, "Let them that set their heart upon them," meaning attachments, "be like to them. And thus he that loves a creature becomes as low as that creature, and in some ways lower. For love not only makes the lover equal to the object of his love, but even subjects him to it. Hence, in the same way that it comes to pass that the soul that loves anything else becomes incapable of pure union with God and transformation in him." As I've discussed before, creatures are created things and include pretty much everything in this world, including human beings. What I haven't mentioned is the significance of the word creature. This was always, at least until maybe post-conciliar times, an important word in the church. The saints used it often because heretics in the early church came up with novel theories about the nature of God and the nature of Jesus. Arians, as well as other heretics, for example, believed that Jesus was born a man, and that his divine nature was created. The church teaches that Jesus, the Word, existed since the beginning. However, man is a creature and is therefore lower. However, God has given man an exalted position among creatures and has given him dominion over them. Other creatures were created to serve man. When man serves the lower creatures, including hobbies, and exalts them, it is an inverse of the natural order of things. On this channel, we've been discussing that hobbies are one of the many things included in the prohibition against creature love. And this is not something new. Christians have always believed this. In the 2nd century, the epistle of Georgianus noted, "These things you call gods, these you serve, these you worship, and you become altogether like them." Today we're discussing Book 2, Chapter 7 of Ascent of Mount Carmel by St. John of the Cross. In this chapter, St. John describes how being attached to creatures, which would include hobbies, torments the soul. Question: what is hell? Answer: this is what hell is. It is a place of eternal separation from God, and the pains and sufferings of hell are largely the outcome of a soul that is made for God, but never reaches its destiny. Question: what is a hobby? Answer: this is what a hobby is. It is a voluntary separation from God. And the soul is tormented because while the person is wasting his time on the hobby, he is keeping himself separated from God. Scripture says, "The cords of the wicked have encompassed me." Of this verse, St. John of the Cross says, "The cords of my sins, which are my desires, have constrained me round about." The second kind of positive evil, which the desires for things like hobbies cause the soul, is in their tormenting and afflicting of it, after the manner of one who is in torment through being bound with cords from which he has no relief until he is freed. Scripture says, "They surrounded me like bees, and they burned like fire among thorns." Of this verse, St. John of the Cross says, "As one that lies naked upon thorns and briars is tormented and afflicted, even so is the soul tormented and afflicted when it rests upon its desires for creatures like hobbies, for they take hold upon it, and distress it, and cause it pain, even as do thorns." St. John Vianney tells us that loving creatures such as hobbies torments the soul. They set their hearts upon them, creatures, because they love themselves too much. But they do not love themselves with a reasonable love. They love themselves with a love that seeks themselves and the world, that seeks creatures more than God. This is the reason why they are never satisfied, never quiet. They are always uneasy, always tormented, and always upset. As the husbandman, coveting the harvest for which he hopes, afflicts and torments the ox in the plow, so does concupiscence afflict the soul that is subject to its desires to attain that for which it longs. The more intense is the desire, the greater is the torment which causes the soul, so that the torment increases with the desire, and the greater are the desires which possess the soul, the greater are its torments. As one that falls into the hands of his enemies is tormented and afflicted, even so is the soul tormented and afflicted when it is led away by its desires. They, meaning desires for creatures, afflict and torment it, binding it to the mill of concupiscence, and the bonds with which it is bound are its own desires. Scripture asks, "Why do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which does not satisfy you? Hearken diligently to me, and eat that which is good, and your soul shall be delighted in fatness." Of this verse, St. John of the Cross says, "God, having compassion on those that with such great labor and at such great cost to themselves go about endeavoring to satisfy the hunger and thirst of their desires in creatures," which would include hobbies, says to them through Isaiah, "Do you give me the silver of your will for that which is not bread? namely that of the divine Spirit, and set the labor of your desires upon that which cannot satisfy you. Come, hearkening to me, and you shall eat the good that you desire, and your soul shall delight itself in fatness. This attaining to fatness is a going forth from all pleasures of the creatures, for creatures and hobbies torment, but the Spirit of God refreshes. We find the same message in the New Testament. Come to me, all you that labor and are burdened, and I will refresh you. Take up my yoke upon you. Learn of me, because I am meek and humble of heart, and you shall find rest to your souls. Of this verse, St. John of the Cross says, All ye that go about tormented, afflicted, and burdened with the burden of your cares and desires for creatures such as hobbies, go forth from them. Come to me, and I will refresh you, and you shall find for your souls the rest which your desires take from you. Wherefore they are a very heavy burden. St. John Vianney tells us that worldly people are miserable when they have crosses, and good Christians are miserable when they have none. So, regarding hobbies, we should be guided by Scripture. Refrain yourselves from carnal desires, which is war against the soul. So ditch your hobbies, because they are a waste of time and keep you from God. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back again within a week with another one. But in the meantime, please check out my Facebook page and my Twitter page. Every day I post additional content that you won't find on this YouTube channel. And also, please pray for the church. Tired old ladies kissing dogs. I hate the human love of that stinking mud.